different culture. And I
Yeah.
feel that it's so important to know from a South African's point of view exactly what to expect when you finally decide to move abroad. So that's how this whole thing came about. And I've had an overwhelming amount of expats that said, listen, I'd love to tell my story. I would like to share because people need to know what they're in for, and they cannot, they need to know what it's about. So that's how this whole thing came about. And like I said, I've had a lot of support from expats abroad. It's almost like when you move away from South Africa and the drama, you finally find yourself in a position where you say, wait, hang on, I can share my story, and I would like to speak to other people coming abroad. And it's almost like a person's heart opens up again. And I don't know if that's how you feel. How long have you been in Australia, in Perth?
In Perth. Well, in Australia, I immigrated with my mum, my stepfather, and my 3 siblings in 2009. So we've been here, 12 years now.
All right. And how did you feel? How did you find the differences?
I spoke to Mum because I had a little sleepover at Mum's house last night, and I said to Mum, I'm chatting with this lady called Jeannie, and she's talking about her experiences, and I'd be interested to actually talk to you to find out how you felt as well, Mum. And it was so crazy talking about it, because it's such a trip down memory lane from where we are now to where we were 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But we moved. It was the fastest move I've ever done in my whole life. I remember I was 20, just turning 21, and Mum's a teacher, and she and my stepfather, they were freshly married, 2 years, and they came to me one day and they went, right, we're moving to Australia. You can come or you can't come, but if you don't come, then you're going to be here all by yourself and you don't know how to look after yourself. And I went, oh, okay, I'm coming. And
not much of a choice there, have you?
It was crazy. It was I remember they applied for the visa in April. We got it in July 2008, and by January, the 1st January, we flew to Australia.
That was very quick, Dom. How did they manage it so fast? Because Australia is renowned that it's so difficult to get into it.
So there was a shortage in 2008, 2009 for teachers. I think teachers and doctors. And my parents, both my mum and my stepfather, they're teachers. And Mum's best friend from South Africa lives here in Perth.
Okay.
And she's a teacher, and she said, look, they're sponsoring people over. Let me talk to the school. She got a contact from Mum, and it was the fastest move. The school went, yeah, perfect. We've got this 457 that we're going to sponsor you over, and then it's going to get converted to a subclass. I think it's an 857, where it's a sponsorship by a company.
Okay, all right. So they had a sponsorship to go over, and you were obviously finished with school. And how did you find the difference in culture? Because that's quite a crucial time in a person's life. You're a young adult, you've got all your friends and connections at home, and I think a person at that point, you pretty settled with what with the people around you. How did you find that experience? Was it difficult for you?
It was one of the hardest experiences, and it's not something that you can explain to somebody, because I find Australia to be so same but different. Yeah. Because everything looks the same, sort of. Yeah. But there's differences, but you don't realize it, and you're in this haze where you think you're at home, but it doesn't feel at home, And I was in a long-term relationship. I had my friends, I had a little bit of an older boyfriend, and all of them were getting married, and I had my set crew for life, all my university friends, the sorority, the work. So when I moved over, I went over going, going to get a visa, going to get my permanent residency, and then I'm going to move back to South Africa, because that way I can tick that I've got the visa, and then I can move back and go on with my life, just in case I want to come visit mum and them.
Okay.
And it took me, when I got here, about 9 months. I remember I arrived in Perth. Never in my life felt so lonely. And mum said, here's $100. You sort yourself out. You guys go get jobs. You can work at supermarkets. And we went, what? We can work at supermarkets. Like, what do you mean you can work at a supermarket? That's not a type of job that, that we have.
Yeah.
And she went, no. Everybody works in shopping centers, in retail, in hospitality, in supermarkets, and you earn your money. But when that $100 is finished, you aren't getting any more money from us. You need to go make your own money.
Sure. All right. So that was tough love.
I think it was, but I think it gave us, I guess, a little bit of ambition to get places. I was 20, my sister was 18. And the youngest one was, at the time, 12, and my brother was 2. Good. So big family.
Yeah. Big differences. All right. So that's the one thing that I've been in America. I've worked abroad, and I've got friends in England. And it's almost like South Africans frown upon the jobs that are not titled. And when you get abroad and you see that people with MBA degrees and doctorate degrees, they work in pubs and they've got 2 and 3 jobs running. South Africans are not used to that. So I would say that is probably one of the culture shocks that you must, because we don't.
There's a lot more of inequality here.
Okay, so that's very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people will find that interesting. Dom, have you got dual citizenship at the moment, or have you given up on your South African citizenship?
To my knowledge, with South Africa, you're not allowed if you're... I think my brother, who immigrated when he was 2, he still got dual, and my sister, who was underage. But as far as I'm aware, if you're above a certain age, you have to give up your South African citizenship. So no, don't have it anymore, but don't need it.
Okay, so coming back to your initial story, you said you would get your visa and then eventually move back to South Africa. That obviously changed. You decided that's it.
9 months. 9 months is all it took. I cut a long story short, I got engaged with the long term. It didn't really work out. He came over on an engagement visa.
Oh.
And he got here and he went, this is 100% not me. I got him a phenomenal job working as a venue operations manager, and he was working with rock bands and 30 Seconds to Mars and like doing all the setups behind the scene. He had a phenomenal job, but he never really, I guess, embraced Australia for what it is. He came over with a sense of, I'm here to be with somebody and I'm not here to live in this country. So he left, went back, and I started my new life here. And back to right when we moved over, I remember going onto Facebook and typing in Perth, pressing search, and I had a mutual friend pop up that used to go to school with me in South Africa. Got in contact with her and I went, this is super random, but I can see on your profile it says you live in Perth. I've just moved over. She goes, this is wonderful. Let's catch up. I live ages away from you probably. I'm in Iluka. And I went, well, I'm in Ocean Reef and we literally live 400 meters away from each other.
Fantastic.
So got to know all the South Africans here within a month. got to know about 30, 40 different South Africans, really good people, wonderful. But it was hard to crack into the Aussie friendship groups. It was different and it was difficult. I made friends with a mutual friend who then invited me to other things, and I made Australian friends through hockey.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So you've sort of got to get into the sport because Australia is massive sport. Got to get into a club life of sorts. And if I say club life, I'm not talking raving evenings. I'm talking about...
You can go into that as well.
I'm talking about, you've got to start belonging to a certain club or a sport or something to really start connecting with the Australians. Is that what you're saying?
Look, Australians, they're friendly, but in South Africa, you go out for a few drinks and the next minute you've got 20 new friends and you're catching up with them the next weekend as well. And Australians are a little bit more reserved, I found. And the South Africans as well. The South Africans won't introduce you to their Australian friends. They'll keep you in their little capsule of South Africans.
Okay.
So in order to sort of get to know the Australians, they're wonderful, but they take a little bit to gain their trust. So I had to I made connections with work and with hockey and through mutual friends. And if I've seen somebody enough, you can then start building that relationship. Yeah. I found. Yeah. That was the trickiest part for me.
Okay. And tell me quickly, work-wise, you guys actually managed to get into jobs easily and it's for away from there?
It's amazing how easy the casual workload is. There are so many casual jobs out there. So even though you don't come over and get your title that you used to have, you can still start somewhere and you can build your way up. There is loads of casual work, and the nice thing is there's no workplace discrimination. Mum mentioned this to me. She said it's just amazing. And you live in a country where even though you're 60, you can get a job just like that.
Yeah.
They're not going to discriminate you in age.
That is a massive thing because South Africa is on a downhill when it comes to jobs. And, sadly with the BBEE going around, there's less opportunities for us and our children. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. She lives in France. And I said to her, my son's getting ready to go and study medicine. He wants to become a doctor, a pediatrician. He won't get into university in South Africa. So we're now opting to take him to SGU, which is in Grenada. And they love the South Africans. And that is one of the reasons why we're relooking the whole going overseas. We're getting older. Our kids are going to be abroad. They won't stay in South Africa. And you've got to somehow make sense of it because you still want to be close enough to your kids and be in a position to get on a flight and go and see them if it's needed. We're very isolated in South Africa, and I honestly don't see how a person could stay here. Being abroad before, I understand and I know that there's such a massive culture, well, depending on where you go, but there is a culture difference. And you've got to make sure that you go to the right place, the place where they treat you best. And where you feel comfortable. In terms of safety and security, Dom, you guys feel safer there? How's your feeling around this?
It's amazing. I think my mom's a little bit too relaxed. She doesn't even lock her doors anymore. I'm a little bit more wary, but it's amazing. There's petty theft, as you would find. But the safety aspect, it's so wonderful. I remember the first 3 weeks that we were here, I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep. I felt so exposed. There were just this fluffy little fly net over the windows, and there were no walls around my house. And it was the most confronting feeling, but you get used to it. And it's amazing how quickly you acclimatize to feeling that sense of safety. And yes, there's crime in every country, but it's not the severe brutality of violence and shock crimes that people get away with. There's no taxis that are waving guns around. There's no bumping of cars. There's no buses that are going to crush you on the side of the road. You can go walking in the middle of the night, and might not be the smartest thing because you might just find it dodgy, but there's like 99% chance that nothing's going to happen to you. And even if something happens to you, there's somebody that's going to open their door and go, hey, are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit different to South Africa. Unfortunately, well, a bit. It's massively different. I'm in Cape Town, and we live in Hermanus. It's beautiful here, and I must tell you, it's stunning. And that is probably the one thing I will miss, is the environment, the area. It is so beautiful, yeah. It's not how we grew up, because I mean, like I said, I'm 50. I did play in the streets, and we had all the lovely and the freedom and all of the niceties, which we don't have anymore. So it's sad. It is sad. So tell me, Dom, financially, you guys are much better off there, do you think, in terms of jobs than what you would have been in South Africa, if you really look at it on a practical sense?
Well, it's tough because I guess I'm coming from somebody who's moved over right at the start of my career, or not even. I came over and I was working full time to pay for my studies because I wanted to finish my degree, because, in South Africa, you're nothing without a degree unless you start your own business. Yeah. Whereas here, the point of irony is I've got a double degree, and my fiance that doesn't have a degree earns more than 3 times that I do.
Good heavens.
I know. It's ridiculous. Financially, it took a massive strain on my parents to move over. It was expensive. I'll send you through that. My mum found the budgets that she drew up, but it was something like, back in 2009, they spent 180,000 Rand to move over.
Okay.
And then when we got here to Australia, just the startup cost of, basics like doing your IELTS, like your reading and your writing tests, and getting a car and securing a house rent, that was $25,000, just about 250,000 Rand.
That's a lot, yeah. That is.
So it took you took a massive financial strain in the beginning. I mean, flights alone were, I think, 45,000 Rand for a family to fly over. And it took a while for them to build it up, but teachers get paid well and you're looked after. And even if you're not earning a competent salary, you do still have a lot more government support. The government supports everybody. And I think you have that financial security over here, so that even if you lose your job, you lose your well-being, the government will find you a house, they'll sponsor you money, they'll have a foundation for you. We are fortunate to, I guess, have jobs and not have that. But I mean, I'd say in terms of your financial security, it's great. We don't have the luxury that we do there. We don't have a maid, and we don't have a gigantic house with a massive yard that you would usually have in South Africa. But my fiance and I, we live in an apartment 500 meters from the beach, so we walk down to the beach every day. We've got a park down the road where everybody takes their dogs together. I've got a neighbor that looks after my baby when I want to go out for dinner while hubby's in the mines. There's a massive sense of neighborhood support. So you don't need that luxury that you lack in South Africa necessarily. I guess you're financially well off if you've got the drive.
I think, I spoke to someone in Canada and he said to me, if you're willing to work hard, you'll be fine. It's the people that go over that are picky on jobs because of the culture in South Africa that don't make it. And if you're not prepared to put in, you are going to burn yourself. You're not going to find jobs. But, I have got a few friends in Australia, and they won't come back to South Africa because they can't find jobs, number one. And number two, our currency is becoming a joke now. What you used to earn and what you're earning today, because, people are not really getting increases either. So the bottom line...
How expensive is food?
I know. We are poorer now than what we were 3 and 4 years ago. And we might or maybe earn a little bit more, but we are struggling. People are struggling. And I'm talking from a normal family of 4 where, everything was fine. You could live decent. I think all people are struggling. We can't keep up with the cost of living in South Africa. It's becoming really, really hectic. And there's nothing to do about it.
I remember the stresses of my family in South Africa, and even though we had a good life, the amounts of financial stress that was still on my parents. Mum was a financial advisor, even though she had a teaching degree, because you get nothing there.
Yeah.
And just to make ends meet, there were just long hours. Yeah. We very rarely saw her. She didn't have the luxury of staying at home with us when we were babies. It's changed now. We've got the sense of work-life balance here. I've only just gone back to work after 2.5 years of maternity leave because they kept my job and they went, go for it.
Fantastic. Wow.
If mum can be a teacher again, which is her passion, and teachers are it's a really high paying job to have there, where you actually, because they're investing in the academics and the future of their children. I get it. I went over 4 years ago to South Africa, and I walked in and I went, babe, let's go to Woolies. Woolies makes the nicest food and it's delicious, and we're coming over with our Australian dollars so we can buy all the Woolies our heart desires. After one shop, I was like, that's it. We're going to Pick n Pay.
It's so sad, isn't it? Oh, my word. It's become very expensive. I'm also a Woolies baby, and I haven't seen the inside of Woolworths for years now. Don't you tell me, medical aid and stuff like that, you all sorted? It's not expensive. I think your medical is sort of covered in Australia, or not really?
So once you become a permanent resident, you get Medicare. And you get bulk bill doctors. If you hurt yourself, you go to the hospital, they'll pay for that. They pay for your surgeries. I don't think I've ever paid for something like doctor-wise, unless I've paid for an obstetrician for a few appointments because I wanted to get like a top obstetrician. But when you're pregnant, you can choose to go private or public. But the public system actually worked out that I got better care, and it was for free.
Wow.
And and I felt a little bit uncomfortable after giving birth, and they provided me with a physiotherapist for 9 months for free, and it is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. What we go through when we have issues in South Africa, it's not even worth mentioning. So your biggest takeaway, what would you advise someone that is thinking of moving over to Perth or to Australia, what is the biggest advice or takeaway that you would give them?
Don't be complacent. Don't come over and think that everything's going to fall into your lap. Know that even though it's hard, it will get better within the year if you embrace the culture. Don't get stuck just hanging out with South Africans, because you'll get into a negative rut of complaining about what you didn't have and why you moved over.
Yeah.
And you focus on the negativity of Australians because it's a completely different culture.
Yeah.
You think you're gonna move over to a first world country that's cultured and that's refined and that's quality, but you're moving over to a country where only 30% of the population are Christians. So you have to deal with a different moral compass, and you've got to respect the diversity. So embrace the culture, respect it, and don't get stuck in your ways. Just go for it.
Open yourself up completely. It was lovely chatting to you, and I have you on WhatsApp. Send us a picture of your beautiful little childie. I would like to see what she looks like as a 2.5-year-old. And Dominique, send me those your mom's budgets if you don't mind. I will link it, or we'll put a link up if anyone wants to have a look at it. I know it's a couple of years ago, but you're still going to get a good idea of what was spent. What are the things that you are going to spend money on. That would be fantastic if we can have that. And you go off, have a lovely evening. Don't come home. You better off that side. But what I'll do is, it's raining. It was raining the last 2 days. I'm actually sitting on my patio.
I'm very jealous. It looks beautiful out there.
Oh, thanks. You can't see the sea. We've got an ocean view, and we've got the mountain on the other side. It's stunning. It is really beautiful, yeah. But I'm
very jealous.
There's always the pluses and the negatives, so a person's just got to weigh it up. Dom, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your time. You go off, have a lovely evening. I'll put some pictures of the mountain and the ocean on Sun in the next couple of days, so you can go and eat your heart out.
I will. I'll cry.
So much for your time, my darling. All right.
No, welcome. Thanks for the chat, Jeannie. It was lovely to talk to you.
You keep well.
Okay. Mwah.